Hey guys, welcome back to Wood Street Farm. I'm Phil, and for years I've been curious about logging because I have 30 acres of timber myself, and at some point I would like to get some value out of that timber. And over the last couple of years since I've been working with Reeves Timber, I've been telling them I want to get out on a job site and just see what you do and learn a little bit about the process. So that's what we're doing today. So we're going to chat with Roy Reeves, who I've introduced you to before, but Reeves Timber is a multi-generation timber business out of Big Island, Virginia, and Roy is going to tell us a little bit about this job that we're on today. So this is Roy Reeves, who I've introduced you to before, as we've done some different videos. We toured his wood yard, we've done some equipment demos. We were at his show last year, and this year he's having another show November 8th, 2025. That's going to be on their website, reevestimberva.com. So check that out if you want to come to their firewood demo day. But this job site, I know we're going to talk about logging in this video, Roy, and I know there's a lot of different ways a logging job can work from a landowner's perspective in terms of like the different parties involved and what the exact process is. But I think in the interest of time, let's just talk about this one, this job. So tell me about maybe just an overview of this job, how many acres, what kind of timber's here, and what process did the landowner go through?
Okay. Yeah, well, we're here in Campbell County. This is a family piece of land. I think it's 22 acres total. It's a field in the middle of it. I guess maybe 15 acres of timber, maybe. It's pretty much all hardwood. A little bit of pine scattered here and there in it, but it's not even a load of it. We're just fuel chipping the pine. But it's a pretty decent stand of hardwood. We got quite a few sorts of hardwood logs. And of course you got pulpwood, some good grade logs, and also some low grade logs. And we're trying to do the best we can to merchandise all of that.
So in this example of this, you said 22 acres of woods, right?
Probably 15 acres of
22 acre property, 15 acres of timber. And I guess what was the process? Did this landowner reach out to you directly, or were they already working with a forester, or how did that go?
No, they reached out to us. Okay.
And then do you come and kind of assess what's here and tell them what to expect before they get started, or kind of how's that go?
Yes, that's exactly what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would come out on your first visit here. Is this you that's doing it, or somebody else from your company?
I do.
Okay. So what are you looking at when you first come out to a property like this?
First thing we look at usually is access, because that's the hardest thing, because we have to get tractor trailers in and out. And if it's a situation where there's no way to get the tractor trailers in and out, then I have to really think about it. And then we'll look and see what's here, and how they want it cut. Some people want to cut everything. Some people just want to cut the bigger stuff. A lot of people ask me what I think. So then I have questions for them, like, what are you going to do with it? Did you just get the land? Is it an investment? Do you want to cut it and get what's in it out of it and then sell it? Or is it going to stay in your family? It's all kinds of different things,
I think, that's probably the biggest thing I've been told from others is, what do you want to get out of your land, or what's your end goal? So, for example, some people might be turning it into pasture or farmland, or they're trying to create some like family retreat. Like there's infinite possibilities, right?
Sure.
Or maybe they just want to harvest whatever value they can get out of it and sell it, whatever. I noticed there's some trees standing here. So you want to explain maybe why that is?
Well, this particular landowner, it was a lot of mature timber here. We've cut most of the big trees now, but he wanted to get the mature timber cut, get the money out of that. It needed to be cut. And then he wanted to thin out the rest of it, which is pretty much what we did. Like that part right there is done as far as cutting. He just didn't want a clear cut. There were a few spots down there that were grown up in like brushy fuel chips that would have never demanded anything. So we clear cut 2 or 3 acres down on the low end of his field. But other than that, he mainly wanted it to look like this and get whatever money out of the mature trees.
Yeah. So one thing we were talking about, Roy, is trying to find a market for whatever's here on the property. And you guys just finished loading up a load of chips with treetops, like what's next to us right here. So I guess talk to me a little bit about how you go about looking at what's here, harvesting it, sorting it, and then finding a market for it?
We just look at the standing timber, and you can tell by what's there, by the different species and the size of it, basically what you can hope to get out of it. Sometimes the markets will change in the middle of, what you cut, and then you just got to adapt to it and roll with it. But yeah, it's pretty much that simple. We just figure, we just try to merchandise it as much as we can, especially with hardwood or with mature hardwood logs, and get as much as you can get out of it. As like before you get to the tops of the trees, which would be the fuel chips, which is the least, pays the least of anything. Before that, of course, you start with the butt log. You try to get all, merchandise that and send it to the right mill. But like one oak tree could have as many as 4 or 5 different sorts in it. Sometimes 3 of those could be different logs. So you just try to do that to get the most that you can out of the whole stand of timber.
I know near me, I see jobs with just piles of brush like that, and then they're just left. And is that because in some areas the money is so little on fuel chips that people just don't bother with it, or is there another reason?
Some loggers don't have a chipper. They choose not to, or whatever reason. Fuel chips are typically hard to get rid of, but we just try to haul to different mills so you can, like I said, you can adapt or roll with it and send it to a different place. But fuel chips are hard to deal with, but thankfully we got some relationships with several different mills, and we can get rid of them most of the time. But being able to chip the brush is very important, especially to the landowner, because when you leave stuff like it, it's amazing how many, even if you pull the pulpwood down really small, which you can tell we have, in all of that, just down to the brush, it's still unbelievable the pile of brush you would have left over. And most everybody wants their woods to be left pretty clean, basically free of debris. So running the chipper is really important.
So this landowner, you said, wanted to retain some of the trees. They are not selling the property, right? They want to have a good looking forested property over time, so this will regrow. And you left some trees here. I'm looking around, it looks like I see some hickory and some white oaks.
Yes.
Was it kind of intentional, the trees that were left here? I guess what's the selection process?
A little bit of that, but basically anything that had a log in it they wanted gone. So the logs that were cut in this area, it was a lot of logs, so it was less trees left here than it was in other spots. And the other thing is, we're in a little bit of a tight spot right here because we're trying to stay out of the field what we can, but also over there is a very busy railroad track. So these trees are pretty big, so we had to cut enough room to be able to lay the trees down in a safe place. So that affects things sometimes too. But yeah, basically the trees you leave, you just try to leave good trees, ones that you know or that you feel like are going to keep growing and do better.
One thing I heard you say was this landowner in particular was trying to get any tree that had a good log. So he's trying to get as much value out of it as possible, it sounds like. So he was less concerned about tree selection that's being saved. He just wants to be sure that some is being saved. Like this is not being converted into pasture or whatever.
Clear cut.
Yeah. And the fact that you're taking all the brush out and everything, you're gonna have a nice open floor. There's gonna be a lot of stuff sprouting in the next year or two.
Sure.
All the acorns and all the hickory nuts and everything are going to sprout, and you're going to have lots of seedlings coming up in this area in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, because before there was no sunlight on the ground, and now the sun is hitting.
If the landowner wanted to do something different, do y'all ever come in and actually clear the stumps and prep the property, or are you is that beyond you? Or do you just get the timber out of here and then somebody else?
Sometimes we do that. You do have more and more calls lately for people wanting to turn it into pasture land.
Okay.
Like I guess you call them mini farms or whatever. We get a lot of calls like that, and we do have equipment to do that. We have a Trico front end loader, 973 front end loader with rippers. We have a big Trico dump truck, dozer, skid steer. So, and have men to run it. So we do have the ability to do that, and we do it once in a while.
So we're looking at a big pile of logs here in front of us, and there's a couple different stacks. And in case you guys are wondering, this is Ridge, that's Roy's son, at 9 years old, knows more about logging than probably most of you watching all combined. But he'll be the 4th generation of this family. He is the 4th generation of this family business, and he's been walking around with us a little bit, and I'm impressed with how much a 9-year-old knows about the equipment and about logging and all the logs and everything else that goes into it. But so he might chime in with some of his knowledge as we go around this log pile. So what are we looking at, Roy?
All right, I think I counted, there's either 8 or 9 different sorts here, including down to pulpwood and fuel chips. But let me see, let's see if we can name them. So we have poplar peeler logs, we have pallet logs, railroad tie logs, stave logs.
No, liquor logs.
Liquor logs.
Ridge calls them liquor logs because the stave logs are white oak logs, nice white oak logs.
Whiskey barrel.
Which will go to a sawmill to make staves, which will be whiskey barrels. So instead of Lincoln logs, Ridge calls them liquor logs. I thought that was pretty good. So we have them, then we have a little bit of a mess jumbled up right there. But anyway, pulpwood and firewood together, because we pull it, sort the firewood out and send that to our wood yard to be processed like Phil. And then ordinary grade sawmill logs. I don't know how many I just named, but anyway, that's what we got going on right here, which takes up a lot of room around the loader to be able to sort everything. Sometimes you even have to throw the ones that don't add up as quick. Sometimes if you have room, you just kind of throw them down to the edge because you don't have room to put them beside the loader and still be able to operate.
So can we look kind of up close and just give a quick description of what the difference is of all the logs? Because for me and for the average layman, a log's a log. I mean, I think you probably know, like, a sawmill log's got to be straighter and bigger or whatever, but let's just kind of run through and talk about the qualities of these that put them in that pile.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. These are the peeler logs. They have to be poplar, and they call them peelers because they put them on a lathe, and they spin them, and then a knife comes up and hits them, and it just cuts the sheet off of them until it's down to either a 3 or 4 inch core. So I guess you could say they peel them. So I guess that's why they're called poplar peelers. But they're like a bridge in between ordinary pulpwood and sawmill logs because they're smaller, and they don't have to be great grade. They can have a few what would you call defects in them as long as they're solid.
And it can only be poplar.
That's right, only poplar. That's right. But you can, just like this for instance, the poplar peelers are very important to us and to the landowner, because if you just put that log in the pulpwood, like they'll take them down to 9 inches. Well, in a lot of places, a lot of people, that would be a stick of pulpwood. But these logs bring more than twice as much as pulpwood. So, well, most of the time, you figure twice as much. But so the logger and the landowner get more money with the poplar peelers. So that's a big gap between several dollars a ton for pulpwood and then what you would get for a sawmill log. Because even if you send it to an ordinary sawmill that's going to cut boards out of it, they don't pay a lot for that log. They want the bigger material. So things like peelers are very important. That's one of the reasons we have so many sorts, is to try to get all you can get out of every tree. The next logs we have here are what I call pallet logs. Some people would call them railroad tie logs, and they could be, but they're going to be used for pallets, and they'll bring a little more money than railroad tie logs. But these are also in between pulpwood and sawmill logs, because these can be rough, like with a lot of defects in them. They just need to be solid, and they not all of them have to be straight either, because the long ones, they'll cut them in half to make 9-foot railroad ties and pallet stock.
So when I'm looking at these logs and you say defects, what are we looking at with defects?
Like cat faces, like this. That one's still got a twig on it.
You call this a cat face?
Yeah.
I always have, yeah, sure have. So my grandpa called them.
And then you got little.
And then like on white oaks, these are like, a lot of little twigs. Well, that knocks the grade down for like a board. But for what they're doing with it, like pallets, everybody knows what pallets are, but they don't have to be perfect. So they can have some of that in them.
Maybe
They
like
just got to be solid.
where they sawed up.
Right, yeah, that one's got a big knot on it, like where the limb came off, where the D-limb pulled it off.
A lot of them have that.
But that doesn't hurt that log.
Is there a minimum diameter you're looking for pallet logs?
Those will go down to 9 inches also.
9
That's
inches.
where you can get a lot of it out of the pulpwood and into log form.
Yeah.
And everybody gets more money out of it.
So down to 9 inches on pallet wood, down to 9 inches on peeler wood. In both those cases, you're getting maybe up to double of what pulpwood would
Good,
get.
sure.
I mean, in my area, I see a lot of pulpwood trucks going up and down the road, and there's a lot of them I see where I'm like, there's a lot of firewood in there. There's more value in firewood than there is in pulpwood.
Oh yeah, sure.
But
Sure.
yeah, I see a lot of nice looking wood that I could use.
Yeah.
Just that's going to go to a pulp mill and get
Yeah.
chipped up, unfortunately.
Yeah, it drives me crazy to see firewood put into pulpwood too.
Yeah. All right, what's this next pile?
These are the
Railroad ties.
railroad ties. They are 9 foot. They have to be, they can't be poplar. Most time they can be basically anything else. It just can't be poplar.
You know what that means? That train that's going on there could be on the tracks. That was perfect timing.
So railroad ties are either 9 foot or 18 foot because they cut them in half. Usually 12 inches or bigger on the little end. And they have to be solid and free of splits. But they can be rough, like a lot of knots and whatnot. They don't, I guess the main thing is they don't grade these. They just have to be solid and in a good hardwood tree. But you can do like, they used to take sycamore. I think he still takes some sycamore. Maple, hickory, any kind of oak. Basically anything but poplar.
Chestnut.
Yeah. Any hardwood, no pine, right?
No pine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as I look through here, I mean, there's some real rough looking logs that I wouldn't even consider putting on my little sawmill. Just
Right.
given the number of knots. But I guess all they care about is just if they're going to get one railroad tie out of a log, they
Right.
just cut off all the sapwood and all the knots and everything else.
And then there'll be some boards off the sides, of course, and that could be pallet stock also.
Yeah.
There's different things they do with it.
Are you limited? Do all mills take these, or is there a certain mill that'll
No.
take those?
No, actually, this will go to basically a railroad tie mill. Some
Okay.
railroad tie mills cut other things, and some grade sawmills will cut some tie logs, but they're usually either or. They will take them, but if you send a sawmill logs that they don't really want, that you're not really set up for, they're not going to pay you as much for them. They don't really want them. So it's important to send them what they want. And I try to be picky with the logs that we set out. We try to trim them up good because that's what the sawmill wants. And you can't fuss about what a sawmill pays you if you don't send them what they want. I mean, that's how it works.
So next is Ridge's favorite, the liquor
Liquor
logs. Tell us about it.
They're white oak and they make whiskey barrels.
So they make the staves for the whiskey barrels.
And also it's white oak because it does something to the whiskey.
For the stave barrels, or for the stave wood, this is kind of the best of the best, right? It's the biggest diameter, the cleanest, straightest.
It is the cleanest and the nicest white oak. Yeah, the stave market is really good. But it doesn't have to be the biggest. Like they'll buy some on down to 12 inches or a little less if it's a real good clean log. Most of the time they're butt logs. They'll take a few second cuts. But as you can see, when you looked at the pallet logs and the railroad tie logs, these logs are clean and mostly free of defects. They don't have to be perfect, but
That means they can't be like that log.
yeah, they can be real rough like those, but yeah, it's good to have that market. That helps the logger and the landowner a lot.
So this last pile is a little jumbled up, and I think we've got at least 2 or 3 different grades of product in here, but this will get sorted back at Roy's Woodyard. So they'll load them all up on a truck together, scale them out there, and then sort the firewood. I think you buy a lot of the firewood logs, right?
We do, yeah. We buy them the same as pulpwood, and we'll separate it at the woodyard.
Okay. All right, so I think the most common word or phrase I've heard in logging is pulpwood. What does that mean, and how is it graded?
Well, the pulpwood will be the smaller material. It's not big enough for logs, or not good enough quality for logs. And pulpwood is what they make paper out of, basically. All kinds of different paper, or cardboard.
And it can be used for fuel chips.
Well, yeah, you can put it for fuel chips, but usually we set it out for, firewood could also be pulpwood, but of course, folks like us that produce firewood, we hate to put it in pulpwood because, we'd rather make firewood out of it. But yeah, pulpwood it can be rough stuff. It's just going to get chipped up anyway. It doesn't have to be solid. It can be split.
It can be like this.
And you guys are selling that directly to the paper mill?
Yes,
okay.
We do. Sure do.
What else is in this pile here?
Well, as you can see, I think there's some Origin's liquor logs thrown on top of it. But basically, it's, a lot of oak and hickory, like pretty sticks of firewood like this. I set that out. And a nice piece of hickory there. The pretty firewood that goes through the processor so good. Hate to send that for pulpwood. But then there's also some bigger stuff here, or some, some poplar and all set out here that we'll also make pulpwood out of. Like that's a stick of poplar pulpwood right there. It's too crooked for a peeler or any other kind of log, so the next step down is pulpwood.
What about just regular sawmill logs? So do we have any good quality lumber here, or logs here that we get
there
sold?
were a lot here. Here's a few we had left that we haven't loaded yet. Here we have several red oak logs. There's a poplar, another red oak up under some of that. But yeah, these are good quality sawmill logs, and there were quite a few of them here on this job. That's a real pretty red oak here. So it starts off, of course that's a butt log, and that's what it'll start off with. That one's big enough, you can tell he hit it with the cutter from both sides to get it on the ground. Too big for one swipe. So that one was probably one butt log, a pallet log, probably a tie log, and then I think the top of it was pretty rough. We got some pulpwood out of the top of it, and then fuel chipped the top, the brush that's at the top of it.
So I never thought there was much of a market for red oak, so I'm surprised to see them over here. But I guess around here, mills are buying red oak.
They are buying it. The red oak market is not good right now. You are right about that. But the real pretty butt logs, like I think every one of these here is a butt log. They are worth setting out. They'll bring more. The landowner can get more out of it also. But like after you get the butt log off of it, you're better off to put the rest of it into pallet logs, or railroad ties, or if you didn't have the pallet log market, you could put it into some firewood too and try to squeeze more out of it.
So one thing I've been told, maybe it's not accurate, but if you're looking to get a logging job like this done, does it matter when we contact you or when you guys schedule the job?
Not really. It used to. The markets for logs used to be much better in the winter, but you really can't go by that as much anymore. And the other thing that happens is, of course, wintertime is worse weather. Some jobs you wouldn't be able to get to it. It'd be hard to get the logs out anyway. So it's best to just look at it, and we try to time the particular jobs. If the person is lenient with the time to cut it, we try to time it when the markets are best.
Yeah, I know this past winter we got a bunch of ice and snow, more than we usually get in Central Virginia, in my area. And the last couple of loads of firewood logs I got were real muddy. They were hauling them out when the woods was nasty.
Yeah.
And of course I went through a lot of chains cutting up that wood.
That'll make a chain spark for sure.
So this was about a 15-acre logging job. How long would this job take?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, if weather's good. Last week we've had rain like 7 out of the last 10 days, so that probably slows you down a little bit.
It did. We lost a complete week here. Just couldn't get out. So yeah, about 2 weeks.
One thing that we missed on this job was seeing the actual cutter run, and so we might have a follow-up video if we're lucky. So if you guys have questions for Roy, questions about logging, questions about harvesting timber, about grading logs, any of that kind of stuff, anything related to forest products and the actual harvesting of timber, you can leave those in comments and maybe we can incorporate that in a future video. And like I mentioned in the beginning, if you want to come out to Roy's place November 8th for the firewood demo day, you can see lots of equipment running. And I know we're working on attracting some additional vendors or additional exhibitors beyond the couple product lines that Roy carries as well. So hoping to have a real nice show out there for you. And there's going to be some entertainment and food and all that, so it should be a good time.
It should be, yeah. Please come out. We'll have a good day.
We'll have an HWP 160.
An HWP 160, which is what?
Firewood processor.
Is that a Halverson?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we can look forward to that. So thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.